For today's project, we're going to make an Oxford pillowcase using silk fabric. We're going to need the fabric, scissors, measuring tape, pins, and thread. Always start by ironing your fabric. We're going to take the length and the width measurement of the pillow that we want to be covering. And then using those two measurements, we're going to cut out a rectangle with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. We're then going to take our length measurement and divide it in half and add around 15 centimeters. We're then going to use that measurement to cut out a second rectangle. I like to use our first rectangle as a guide when cutting out the second piece. We're then going to use the piece that we just cut and cut out a second piece. So you're going to be left with 2 smaller rectangles and 1 larger one. The 2 smaller pieces are going to make up the back of your pillowcase, and you're going to hem each of these on one side. You're going to do so by folding over your fabric, ironing it, and then folding it over a second time. And then you're just going to do a straight stitch along the edge. You're going to do that for one side of each of your smaller rectangles. Next, we're going to measure for the pieces of our decorative border on our Oxford pillowcase. If you'd like just a regular pillowcase, you can skip this step. The 4 pieces that you're cutting are 10 centimeters in width and 8 centimeters longer than your rectangle piece in length. Then, using something with a 90-degree angle, I used a book, you're going to pin together all of your outside pieces. Making sure to place right sides together and that your pins are creating a nice straight line, and then you're going to sew that with a straight stitch. Making sure to sew all 4 corners at this point. You're then going to trim away the excess fabric. Because silk can fray, I then finish every edge with a zigzag stitch. This step will help create a longer lasting pillowcase. You've now created your corners. At this point, it can help to use a pin to poke your corner out to create a crisper finish. And then once all of your corners are folded now right side out, you're going to iron them down flat. We're now ready to attach all of our 4 pieces. So we have our original rectangle, our new border piece, and our 2 smaller rectangles that we've hemmed. So what we're doing here is placing our biggest rectangle piece on the bottom with right sides up. And then we're going to flip around our border piece so that our raw edges are facing outwards. And we're going to line that up with the raw edges of the rectangle piece. And then we're going to place our smaller rectangle piece right side facing down, also lining up the raw edges. We're then going to pin that all together. And as you can see, we have our border piece pinned between our rectangle pieces with the right sides facing together. And we're going to sew that all together with a straight stitch. Here's a closer look of what's happening when we're sewing the corners. After sewing the first side, for the second side of the corner, you have to make sure to tuck your border piece in and catch just the seam allowance while you're sewing. This part can be a little tricky, but if you take your time, you'll be able to get a clean corner. It helps to cut away the seam allowance at the corner to get a sharper edge. And you're going to do that for all 4 corners. And then you're going to finish your edges again with a zigzag stitch. The last step is to iron out all your new seams, especially around the corners. And then you're going to put your case on your pillow and you're all done. Thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, please subscribe.